going to talk about the main feature, the focus of the release. We focused on the reporting side of our tool chain and invented a new HTML report and a completely new report generation tool. And I'm going to talk here about 3 aspects of this improvement. First is the handling and the user guidance. You can decide if you try it and if you evaluate version 10, if it's faster, better, and more beautiful, but we hope it is. Then I want to talk about a topic that will be very important for some of the users we have. It's all about pre-processing, about handling of headers, and about conditionally compiled code. And interesting for hopefully everyone again is the possibility to adapt the layout, and I will explain later what that means. So let's start with the handling and with the user guidance. This is the picture, the workflow of today with versions 9. With the tool CTC Post, you generate a text report from the raw data, from the symbol and data file. And from this traditional text report, another tool, CTC to HTML, is generating the HTML report. And this workflow is replaced by a new workflow with CTC report. CTC report generates the HTML report directly from the raw data. So the text report is no longer needed for that purpose. For you as a user, that will be faster and you will need less steps. So faster, we measured it, it's really faster, and it was also one goal. And you do not have to generate the text report just to get an HTML report. From our point of view, from our development, this has been a very important and crucial issue to change the behavior here, because for us it was in some sense limiting. The text report limited the possibilities for HTML, as every information we would like to show in the HTML report had to be transported through a text report with limited possibilities to lay out or to hide small pieces of information. And getting rid of that offers us the possibility to do much more in the HTML report without these limitations of a text report. Here's an impression. That's the report as you might know it, today's HTML report, and on the right-hand side is the new one, an impression of the overview page of the new HTML report. And there are several changes are obviously, and several others I would like to show you. Of course, we changed the design. We hope that you like it. A feature is that you can name your report. You can give the project name, so that if you have more than one report you're handling with or you're looking at, you can distinguish easily these reports. You know what is the report about. Then you can choose arbitrary coverage measures. You can define which coverage measure you would like to see. And you can also define the order in which they shall be shown in the report. You see here in this screenshot that we have a direct indication about the total result. If you compare it with the existing report, in the existing report you have to scroll down, then you get a total result. Now the total result is shown at the top of the page here in this area. In the whole report you can show and hide information to get a better overview and not to overwhelm you with too much information on the first glance. So you see that here for the details, we have here an overview over directories and files, and you can expand or collapse the details, the files in this case, for a certain directory that was impossible before. We also have a lot of more functionality directly in the report, some ad hoc JavaScript functionality. You can sort for every column and every measure we show here. Yeah. And yeah, the screenshot comes to an end, so I would like to show in a real example and switch over to a real report. That's the first example. The index HTML shows the overview, and I go here. You see, perhaps you remember in the screenshot, you saw 4 measures, and in this example, I have only 3 of them. So that's a decision what you would like to see. Today, you can only choose one of the structural coverage measures, and then we show statement coverage aside, but now you can choose independently what you would like to see. This is here, this is the drill down I mentioned. You can collapse and expand these areas here. You can also expand here the more technical information, to which symbol files does the report refer, to which data files, how many files have been instrumented. The command line is available that you used to define this report, and so on. But when you go to the report, this information is hidden to get a better overview. Then I talked about the sorting functionality. For every column here, you have 2 possibilities to sort. First, about the coverage ratio, about the percentage. You see the percentage as the length of the bar as an indication. And you can also sort about the number of the absolute number of missing hits. And if you do that, the number is also displayed here in light gray, that you see what you sorted for. So if that's an interesting information for you, you can easily see what is the worst parts of your code with regard to missing hits. And similar as today, we have drill downs. First of all, we have drill downs to pages we call detail pages now. If your project has a certain structure, you can decide, okay, for every directory, I would like to have a detail page. And in the detail page, I would like to see files and functions, for example, for this directory. Then you get a layout similar to the layout seen before. Additionally, you get a navigation bar at the bottom of the page, a link back to the overview page, and also the possibility to switch between all other directories. You can select another directory here, or you can click through all directories. Everything is here in the bottom. Every time you see a file or a function in the report, you can make a drill down to its source code view. If we go, for example, to a function, then we jump to the area of the function here. The function is also highlighted here in the line area when you hover with the mouse over it. Here you see we have a different function. The highlighting itself, it's comparable to the existing report, but we have some additional functionality here. For example, you can decide to highlight certain counters. If you are interested in decision coverage, you can choose decision coverage here, and then you see only counters that refer or count for decision coverage. You do not see the multi-condition or the MCDC counters anymore. You can also decide that perhaps you have a lot of comments at the beginning. We have another function block here, and you can decide that you do not want to see any code outside functions. Then it's much more compact. Every comments at the beginning are faded out. I go back to the presentation now. And about the second topic for the new HTML report, about headers and conditionally compiled code. First, about conditionally compiled code. If we have preprocessor directives like the if def windows here in this example, we have with the current versions 9, we have perhaps the issue that we cannot distinguish if line 7 or line 9 have been in the compilation. And the design decision was to mark these lines where our toolchain cannot decide if they have been in the compilation. They are marked as inactive. So they are neither green nor red but shown as inactive, even if a user immediately see that either windows has been defined or not. So it's a little confusing here. And if you have this in a large amount of preprocessor directives, then it can be really confusing. I think there are a lot of participants today here that have these troubles in real life. And with version 10, we worked over the recognition, and now we have a full recognition or distinction between inactive and active lines, independent from the question if a CTC counter is inside these blocks. So in this case, this is a real screenshot, you will get the information this line was active, and as a consequence, it is marked in green or in red, and the other line 9 has not been in the compilation. The second topic here is similar. It's about header variants, and header variants also occur if you have different preprocessor defines or something like that. So the topics correspond to each other. For header variants, we changed the logic of how CTC report works compared to CTC post. And this topic is only important if you are instrumenting your headers or some other included files. If not, the topic is not relevant, but in a lot of cases people do that for C++ code, for example, but also for C code. If you have functions in headers and you would like to see coverage, you have to instrument them. And then if you have different variants due to preprocessing, then in the past, only one of these variants has been extracted. Extracted was a term used in CTC post and used in warning messages of CTC post. It was called header extraction. And now we changed the behavior. The coverage information for a header file is always reported as an independent entity. It's never reported inside the included file anymore. And if there are more preprocessor variants for your header, then you get in the report different variants. We have a header, the header.h here, and you see there are 3 variants reported for. And for every variant, you get its own source code view. So you can just on a visual, on a glance, you can see that there is a lot of inactive code. And for the second variant of this header, the function foo is no longer inactive. And for the third variant of the header, a lot more, or every code was active in the compilation. And now I come to the third topic of the HTML report about the adaptable layout. I already talked about a little bit when I showed you the example. What do we mean with layout and with adaptability? It's about 2 topics, about the level of details you would like to see and the kind of HTML pages that you would like to have generated. And we learned from several projects in the past that often the existing HTML report with the existing level of detail and with its structure is very good, but often it's too much or too little or focus on the wrong parts. And it heavily depends on your development projects what a good level of detail is. And it also depends on the audience of the report. Is it the developer of one project or the tester, or is it a generic overview over all projects you have in a certain business unit or whatever? Then you perhaps do not want to have a drill down to every function or to the source code. And the layout copes with these kind of challenges. So now you can define what kind of level you would like to see and how the information shall be distributed on different HTML pages. What we always have is a so-called overview page. This is one HTML page. It's the HTML page called index.html in the report. And then you can decide if you would like to have detailed pages. The connection overview detail pages give the possibility to spread the information, not to have everything in one place, and also to go to a deeper level. On overview pages and as well on detail pages, you can decide if you would like to have information flat on one level or if you want to have it on two levels. You see it here in a configuration file called CTC report layout INI. It's quite simple definition. You define, for example, for the overview page, you would like to see directories and files. Here we have a two-level definition. And if I switch for the last layout, the layout called high-level overview, I have only a flat one-level layout with only directories on the overview page. For detail pages, you can decide if you want to see them or have them generated at all. And if you want to generate them, again, you have the possibility to decide for which kind of entities you would like to have them. In this example, for files and for functions. For source code, you can decide shall the source code views be generated or not. It's an on-off decision. If you would like to generate source code view, then it's generated for every source code file is one HTML page generated. So we deliver this layout INI file with these three layouts predefined. If you do nothing, the first of them is used. So that's the total default. And this is quite similar to today's report. So if you don't care about layout and adaptability at all, then you get a report very similar structured as today. But you can change it, you can use our suggestions, and you can also define in this kind of pattern a completely new layout corresponding to your need. I have an example for that. I have an example prepared called small layout. It is using the small layout defined here in the middle for small projects. We will see an overview directly with files and functions, no detail pages, but we will also see the source code. This is useful if you have the whole small project in one directory. In this case, a directory overview and another overall overview and so on doesn't make very much sense. So you see directly here, we have an index HTML, we have source code HTML pages, but no detail pages. I go here, I have the same basic and the same design again. But now we have files and function here, not longer directories and files on the overview page. And I have the files and functions below. I can expand everything. It's the 3-header variant example I showed you on the screenshots earlier. And again, we have the drill down to the source code view directly. So this is the same, and we can again go back here to overview. Here again, you see the inactive code. It's dimmed to some extent, and now I can go back to the overview. So from the presentation point of view, that have been the topics I wanted to talk about. And now I would like to hand over to Roland, who is taking care about any question you ask in the chat. And if you didn't do that, you can get the opportunity to ask questions now.